Welcome aboard. Everyone, please fasten your seatbelts. It's going to be a wild ride.
Can we pretend that airplanes in the night sky like shooting stars? I could really use a wish right now, wish right now, wish right now. Can we pretend that airplanes in the night sky like shooting stars? I could really use a wish right now, wish right now, wish right now.
Tonight, the foxes are found. It's all over now. Before it has begun, we've already won. We are wild. We are like young volcanoes. We are wild, Americana, exotica. Do you wanna feel a little beautiful, baby?
Hi, my name is Piper Wright. For the past year, I lived on Guam, and have been making videos about some of the places my family and I have visited. The one video that I haven't made yet, and have been so excited to create, is the one about Guam. In the summer of 2014, this is a beautiful beach with a beautiful park. But 70 years ago, in the summer of 1944, it was the site of a living hell. This is Asin Beach, Guam. We're standing on Asin Beach Park, which is site of the American invasion of Guam, July 1944. Asin Beach is a part of the National Park Service. On July 21st, 1944, the American forces invaded Guam, thus beginning the Battle of Guam. Just like the invasions of Saipan and Iwo Jima, the Japanese were ready for the Americans, and they stayed on the beaches, guns poised, ready to fire. As the Americans waded ashore, hundreds were systematically gunned down. Here, there are two overlooks. They were of strategic importance for the Japanese, because this way, the Americans couldn't see the Japanese and didn't know where to shoot. However, the Japanese had a perfect view of the Americans. They knew exactly when and where to shoot the soldiers. There is still wreckage from the battle, embedded in the sand and rock today.
I don't wanna do anything but cry. Oh, and I don't wanna do anything but cry.
I'm in the village of Pity. Here, there are 3 guns. Vickers Type Model 3 140mm coastal defense guns, which have a firing range close to 10 miles. They were intended for use against Allied ships and landing craft. The guns were set up by the local Chamorros, who the Japanese had taken captive and turned into conscripted labor during the war. Conscripted labor means that an occupying military takes the native people hostage and forces them to do the heavy work. The Japanese used this a lot during World War II. When they took the Chamorros hostage, they forced them to do all of the heavy building. These guns were set up to keep the American forces from invading and recapturing Guam. But when the Americans did start invading the island, the Japanese never had the chance to fire any of the 3 guns because they had not yet become fully operational. 2 of the 3 guns haven't been moved from their original places. while the third was knocked over by the super typhoon Hongsona in 2002. However, the gun has not been righted since then. We're at the top of Nimitz Hill at the Assen Beach Overlook, where the Japanese had an unobstructed view of the invasion beaches. None of the palm trees that you see along the water were there during the invasion, leaving the soldiers completely exposed. Welcome to Agate Beach. This beach, like Assen Beach, was one of the beaches that the Americans used for the invasion when they recaptured the island of Guam. Here, you can see a Japanese pillbox, where they could shoot unmolested at the American soldiers. Remember the difference between a bunker and a pillbox. While they both hide and protect you, a pillbox completely encloses you and makes it much more difficult to attack.
The Japanese had many defense weapons, such as these guns placed on Agate Beach. They include a single-barrel Japanese dual-purpose 25mm machine cannon, a 20-centimeter short-barrel naval gun, and a double-barreled anti-aircraft gun.
How often do you see a sign warning you of live munitions? Note the multiple languages also. English and Japanese.
Happening out of my control. Pushing, pulling, and it's grabbing me. Feel it in my bones.
People often ask what day-to-day life is like on Guam. What does Guam have? Remember, Guam is only 29 miles long, and at its widest, it's 4 miles wide. To compare it to a U.S. city, it's slightly smaller than Chicago, with Chicago being 234 square miles, and Guam only 204. Believe it or not, Guam has everything you need. It just looks different.
This is Tumon Bay. People come here from Japan, Korea, China, and Russia to snorkel, swim, and enjoy the water. Many hotels are on the beaches of this bay so that the tourists can enjoy easy access to the warm, clear water and the beautiful snorkeling. Although this is a destination for most tourists on Guam, many locals also visit these beaches. There is a law stating that fishing in Tumon Bay is illegal. The law is in place because of overfishing, which was severely depleting the fish population. Now, the fish populations are recovering and are as beautiful as ever. The coral and other sea life have thrived, the vital aquatic ecosystems are recovering, and the snorkeling is once again great. Guam is the home of sizable military bases for both the U.S. Navy and the U.S. Air Force. Right now, I'm outside of the Navy base, locally known as Big Navy, because it is the larger of two naval facilities here on Guam. Since the end of World War II, Guam has been a home to bases for both the Air Force and the Navy. Guam is geographically situated near many countries, such as Australia, Japan, Korea, China, and the Philippines. So if the military needs to go anywhere in the Pacific Ocean, they're already there. Guam is very important to the U.S. military. In World War II, the Americans needed to reach Japan, but with their plane, the B-29 Super Fortress, they could not reach Japan from Hawaii, Midway, or Wake Island. But once they captured the island of Guam, they were one big step closer. Guam became a critical support base for the attacks on the islands Saipan and Iwo Jima. This way, they could fly round trip to Japan. Eventually, the B-29s would drop the atomic bombs to end the war. When the Americans invaded Guam, they did so for two major reasons. With Guam under the Americans' possession, the Japanese were even further from the U.S., and the Americans were closer to Japan. Though these historical sites mean something to Americans, they also mean something to the Japanese. Many Japanese men were killed alongside the Americans in the American invasion of Guam. The Japanese still visit these places in remembrance of all their ancestors who died in the War of the Pacific.
So, we don't have all the shops that we do at home. We still have stores that make up for the things that we're missing. For example, even though we don't have a Walmart or a Target, we do have a Kmart and a Home Depot. And of course, everyone needs their electronics store. And since we don't have a Best Buy, we do have our very own TikTok and MicroPack. Each is a typical electronics store. They've got their fair share of Apple products, Mac accessories, and PC equipment. Everything that you need in the 21st century is here, most of the time. One of my favorite stores to visit back home is Barnes & Noble, but sadly, they don't have one of those out here. So I'm left with a bestseller. Bestseller tends to have some books that I want, but not all. It's all right, but it's not Barnes & Noble. And last, but certainly not least, a coffee shop. Since we're Starbucks-less, we have a place called Infusion. It works, but it's definitely not Starbucks. Something that anyone who lives on Guam will tell you is that the cost of living is high. For most people, the monthly electricity bill starts at about $500, whereas in the States, it might run around $120. That in and of itself is crazy. But that doesn't even touch base on the monthly grocery store trip, which is always very pricey. For our family of 4, we spend about $800 a month in groceries at home and $1,200 to $1,400 on Guam.
Food and groceries here are very expensive because, like almost all islands, all the goods and foods have to be flown or shipped in, which is expensive and adds to the cost. For example, at the local grocery
That's
store,
a $400 to $600 difference,
which is similar to a Sam's Club or a Costco. A gallon of milk is about $10, whereas in the States, it's about $3 at Kroger. The reason that the prices of groceries are so high is because everything has to be imported.
In Japan, everything is expensive for Americans because the exchange rate between the Japanese yen and the US dollar favors the yen. This means that when Japanese tourists come to Guam, things are relatively cheap for them. But when Americans come to Guam, it's the complete opposite. Just like in the States, we have many McDonald's and Subway restaurants. We also have lots of gas stations. The largest chain is Circle K 76, though you do see the occasional mogul. The price of a gallon of gas is very high. It's currently $4.79 a gallon, which is down from the $5 it used to be. I should probably mention that everyone has a car, and the roads aren't meant to have that many vehicles on them, so traffic is a huge problem. It can take up to an hour to make a drive that should be 10 minutes. I'm going to tell you a little secret. Guam's stuck in the 80s.
About me. Don't you.
When you pull up to a gas station, some still have attendants that come out to pump your gas, just like you see in Footloose.
Now I gotta cut loose, put loose, kicked off the Sunday shoes.
Baby on board sign can often be seen in car windows. Like I said, totally 80s.
Don't stop believing.
A large issue that many people in Guam come across is that the post office has no residential mail delivery. This means that you have to get a P.O. box and check the box every day. This also means that when you get a package, you have to wait in line for 40 to 45 minutes. Not fun. A lot of banking comes from Hawaii, such as the First Hawaiian Bank and the Bank of Hawaii. However, there are some banks that are not Hawaiian based, such as the Bank of Guam and Citibank. There are both buildings and ATM machines, just like you would see in the States. Living on Guam for the past year has really changed my view on the world. It's a lot smaller than it used to be. It made me realize that life goes on outside of the lower 48 and not just a news program. And if I had the choice to repeat this year, I would in a heartbeat. So if you would like to see some of our adventures, here you go.
Of the end of the world, but it's feeling just like every other morning before. Now I wonder what my life is gonna mean if it's gone. The cars are moving like a half a mile an hour, and I started staring at the passengers and waving goodbye. Can you tell me what was ever really special about me all this time? But I believe the world is burning to the ground. Oh well, I guess we're gonna find out. Let's see how far we've gone. I believe it all is coming to an end. Oh well, I guess we're gonna pretend. Let's see how far we've come. Let's see how far we've come. We could turn 10 o'clock, but I don't really know. And I can't remember caring for an hour or so. Started crying and I couldn't stop myself. I started running, but there's nowhere to run to. I sat down on the street, took a look at myself. Said, where you going, man? You know the world is headed for hell. Say your goodbyes if you got someone you can say goodbye to. I believe the world is burning to the ground. Oh well, I guess we're gonna find out. Let's see how far we've come right now. Let's see how far we've come. I believe it all is coming to an end. Oh well, I guess we're gonna pretend. Let's see how far we've come. Let's see how far we've come.
Remember to hit the thumbs up and like this video, and to subscribe for more updates from my channel. Click the screen around me to check out my other videos. See you guys soon!
We were born ready, ready to be free, chasing every thrill we could see. With our eyes steady, waking to a dream, aching to be thrown in the ring. If nothing comes easy, as long as we're breathing, we'll go all the way or go home. We were born ready, wherever it leads, what we have is all we need. 'Cause if it's fast or slow, all I really know is I'm gonna enjoy the ride. And if it's hard or soft, before we get off, I'm gonna enjoy the ride, enjoy the ride. 'Cause if it's fast or slow, all I really know is I'm gonna enjoy the ride, enjoy the ride.
Slightly smaller than Chicago, with Chicago being 234 square miles. Let's redo that, guys.
All I really know is I'm gonna
People back home often are
and if it's hard
Right. Which is also way.
Tonight, the foxes hunt the hounds.
Hungry for the rush.
So,
When they tell us to hide.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
7. Very expensive. But once they capture the... Hold on.